Hello everyone. In this video, we'll do the daily current affairs analysis of 23rd October 2021. So the first topic which we'll discuss is about the Public Safety Act. So why it is in the news? Recently, after the massacre of non-natives in Jammu and Kashmir, about 700 people have been detained under the strict Public Safety Act (PSA). Powers of government under the PSA. Under this law, a person is remanded in custody and is barred from engaging in any activity that violates state security or law enforcement. It's also known as the Jammu and Kashmir Public Safety Act 1978. It allows the government to detain anyone over the age of 16 years without trial for a period of 2 years. It allows for administrative detention for up to 2 years for a person committing any act in a manner which could harm the security of the state. So how is it enforced? It comes into operation when administrative orders are approved by the DM or the DC of that region. The arresting officer is not required to disclose any facts about the arrest. So why is the law controversial? It allows detention without trial. No bail right is there. It gives many reasons for arrest. There is no difference between small and large cases. So can the courts intervene? The only way this restraining order can be challenged is for a habeas corpus application to be made by the relatives of the detainee. The Supreme Court and the High Courts have the power to hear such appeals. However, if the order is revoked, there is no law that the government can pass another detention order under the PSA and rearrest that person. So the prelims hotline topics are: when and why was the PSA introduced? Are sections 22 and 23 of the PSA interlinked? And who enforces the law? So this is the source of the article. Next is the who are the Uighurs. So why it is in the news? The 43 countries have called on China in a declaration to ensure the full compliance with the law of the Uighur community, Muslim community in Xinjiang district. The declaration blamed China for a series of Uighur human rights violations, including torture, forced sterilization, and disappearance. What were the demands under the declaration? China should allow quick, sensible, and non-stop access to Xinjiang for independent observers, including the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights and his office. What is the problem? Reliable reports indicate that more than 1 million people have been unjustly detained in Xinjiang district, and there is a widespread human rights violation against the Uyghurs community freedom and culture. A Chinese response. Despite many evidences, China denies mistreatment of Uighurs. Who are the Uighurs? They are a small Turkic group of Muslims whose origin can be traced to Central and East Asia. The Uighurs speak their language similar to Turkish and consider themselves culturally and ethnically close to Central Asian countries. China sees them only as a minority and denies them the status of the indigenous groups. Currently, a large number of Uyghur population live in the Xinjiang region of China. Many have also migrated to neighboring Central Asian countries like the Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and the Kazakhstan. They have been for decades placed under false accusations by the Chinese government for terrorism and segregation and have faced torture, including persecution, forced imprisonment, intensive surveillance, and even slavery. So the prelims hotlink topics are: who are the Uyghurs, where is the Xinjiang district located, and the Indian states near the border of Xinjiang province. So next is about the Singapore International Arbitration Center. So why it is in the news? It is in the news because it has rejected Future Retail's request for a temporary stay on its 24,000 crore agreement with Reliance Retail, which provides greater relief to Amazon, opposing the transaction. Results: the order now barred Future Group and Reliance Industries Limited from proceeding with rupees 24,000 crore agreement it signed in August for Future Retail. So the parties to the SIAC agreement usually sign a contract that specifies about a mediation center, applicable rules, chair of mediation. In the event that Amazon and Future Group under their agreement have agreed to transfer their dispute to the SIAC, Singapore may be the contractor to choose a seat venue arbitrator. So next is the composition. Generally, in the case of a 3-member panel, both parties nominate 1 member and the third party collects the nominees jointly or 2 if they fail to agree by the SIAC. Appointment of emergency mediator. The appointment of an arbitral tribunal usually takes time. Therefore, under SIAC rules, parties may submit to the SIAC to appoint an emergency mediator for temporary emergency assistance as the arbitral tribunal's appointment process continues. So what happens if the parties do not voluntarily obey the order? Currently under Indian law, there is no obvious way to enforce the orders of the emergency arbitrator. However, if the parties do not voluntarily comply with the SIAC's order, the defeating party can approach the Supreme Court under the section 9 of the Conciliation and Mediation Act of 1996. So why has Singapore become a center of international mediation? Because foreign investors who invest in India generally want to avoid the stiffness of Indian courts. Foreign investors feel that Singapore is neutral in the dispute resolution process. Singapore itself has built itself an impressive reputation as a regulatory environment nation governed by international standards and high integrity. So according to the 2019 SIAC annual report, India has been the main user of its arbitration chair with 485 cases referred to the SIAC. So does India have an international mediation center? Yes, India now has its own international mediation center located in Mumbai. So about the SIAC, it is an international non-profit mediation organization based in Singapore which administers arbitration under its own arbitration rules and the UN CITRAL arbitration rules. So the prelims outline topics are: what is mediation, about the SIAC, overview of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996, and also about the UNICITRAL. So the source of this news is this article from the Economic Times website. You can refer that to get further understanding about the topic. So next is the general consent provided to CBI. So why it is in the news? The case was filed by the West Bengal government against the central government under Article 131 of the Constitution in the Supreme Court. So the state has challenged the CBI's authority to register cases in the West Bengal state without state government's approval. West Bengal government backed it by saying that it had revoked the CBI's general consent back in 2018. So West Bengal concerns. The state said the CBI's actions were a direct attack on the federal structure and aimed at harassing Trinamool Congress leaders in the state. So reply from the center. State governments do not have the absolute power to keep the CBI away from investigating crimes within the state. Even the union government has the authority to undermine the independence of the CBI to investigate. In addition, the CBI was empowered to investigate cases relating to any of the subjects in the central or the concurrent list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution. So why state government's permission required? The CBI is governed by the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, which makes it mandatory for the state government to provide a general consent to CBI to let it conduct an investigation in that state. So does the denial of general consent mean that the CBI will no longer be able to investigate any case? No, the CBI will still have the power to investigate old registered cases where general consent is available. Also, cases registered elsewhere in the country but involving people residing in the states who have revoked the permit may allow the CBI's power to extend to these states. So the prelims outline topics are: about the CBI and its establishment, provisions of the DSPE Act, what is a general consent, what happens when a general consent is revoked by the state governments. So source of this news is this article from the tribuneindia.com website. You can refer to that. Next is first ever president elected in Barbados. So it is a prelim specific topic. So Barbados has elected its first president to replace Queen Elizabeth of the United Kingdom as the head of the state. Barbados is a British colony that gained independence in 1966 and is a nation of less than 3 lakh population. It has long maintained relations with the British monarchy. Next is that the demands for full sovereignty and local leadership have increased in recent years. Barbados was taken over by the British in 1625. It has sometimes been called the Little England because of its loyalty to the British culture. It is an island in the Eastern Caribbean to the east. So source of this news is this article from the Al Jazeera website. You can refer to that to get a better understanding about the topic, and also you should analyze these type of news very carefully, and also the geographical location of the Barbados, which are the major countries which surround this region, and which are the major seas which are located in and around this region. They are very important because UPSC, as I have told in many of the videos, it picks up particular keyword which is in the news, and it searches for the related keywords which are related in a direct or an indirect manner to that particular keyword which is in the news, and they frame the questions from the directly or indirectly related keywords which are not in the news. So that is why the proper analysis of the current affairs is very, very important, particularly for prelims. So thanks a lot for watching the analysis video. Have a nice day.